Everything you've been told about electric vehicle charging is about to become a lie. We have accepted this universal truth that EVs inherently mean waiting. We have been conditioned to think that buying an electric car means committing to 40-minute stops at a broken charger in a dim parking lot just to get enough juice to make it home. We plan road trips around these massive delays, assuming this is just the price of early adoption. But while we have been settling for that reality, a handful of manufacturers have quietly rewritten the laws of battery chemistry. Today, we are tearing down the 4 EV charging platforms rolling out right now that are literally faster than pumping gas. We aren't talking about concept cars or solid-state dreams that are a decade away. We are looking at 800-volt, 900-volt, and 5C architectures that are on the road right now. And wait until we get to the final platform. When you see how CATL and Zeekr have manipulated lithium iron phosphate to take a full charge in the exact amount of time it takes to buy a coffee, you will never look at a standard electric vehicle the same way again. Before we look at the monsters, you have to understand the cage we've been living in. For the last decade, almost every EV you've seen, most Teslas, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Chevy Bolt, they all run on a 400-volt architecture. Think of voltage like water pressure in a hose. If you want to fill a massive pool quickly, you can either make the hose wider by increasing the amps, or you can turn up the water pressure by increasing the volts. The problem with 400-volt cars is that you can only push so many amps through a cable before it physically melts. Literally, the cable gets too heavy to lift for a normal person, and it gets so hot it becomes a severe fire hazard. That is the physical bottleneck of the entire industry. The charging station might say 350 kilowatts on the side in massive letters, but your 400-volt car physically cannot swallow that energy. It artificially throttles the intake to protect the battery cells. So, to break the 40-minute barrier, engineers realized they had to stop fighting the amps and start doubling the pressure. Coming in at number 4 is the architecture that is rapidly becoming the new baseline for survival in the global market. XPeng's SEPA 2.0 platform. This is the structural foundation underpinning cars like the XPeng G6 crossover. Instead of relying on a dated 400-volt system, they moved to a true 800-volt silicon carbide architecture. What does that actually mean in the real world? It means incredible efficiency through significantly lower heat generation. Because they doubled the voltage, they can push the exact same amount of power using half the current. Less current means thinner internal cables, far less heat, and significantly faster energy transfer without triggering thermal throttling. But the real magic of SEPA 2.0 isn't just the battery chemistry. It's the cell-integrated bodywork. The battery isn't just bolted onto the bottom of the car. It literally is the floor of the car. This integrated design saves a massive amount of weight, which means you need less energy to move the vehicle. That effectively increases your charging speed because every kilowatt you put into the battery pushes the car further down the road. On a compatible 800-volt charging station, the SEPA 2.0 platform can handle up to 280 kilowatts of charging capacity. It can bring the battery from 10% to 80% in under 20 minutes. Adding roughly 186 miles of range in just 10 of those minutes. That is fast, and it completely changes the dynamic of a road trip. But 800 volts is just the appetizer. What happens when you push the architecture even further, and what exactly is a CR8? Number 3 on our list isn't just a platform. It's a partnership that spawned an absolute monster. This is the Auto Mega, a massive aerodynamic electric minivan, powered by CATL's revolutionary 5C Qilin battery. If you want to understand how absurd this vehicle is, you need to grasp what a CR8 actually is. In the simplest terms, 1C means charging a battery from 0 to 100% in exactly 1 hour. 2C means doing it in 30 minutes. Most EVs you see on the highway struggle to maintain a 1.5C average across their charging curve. The Auto Mega is running a 5C battery. That means it is theoretically capable of absorbing a full charge in just 12 minutes. To make this happen, CL completely redesigned the Qilin battery pack. Instead of just putting a cooling plate at the bottom of the pack, They sandwiched liquid cooling plates between every single individual cell. This aggressive, three-dimensional thermal management is the only way to stop the battery from physically destroying itself when it gets hit with over 520 kilowatts of peak power. We have real-world video evidence of this massive minivan pulling into a station at 10% battery. Exactly 10 minutes and 36 seconds later, it hits 80%. It added 500 kilometers of range in the time it takes to walk into a gas station, use the restroom, and buy a bag of chips. But here is the major problem with Li Auto's platform. To hit those mind-bending speeds, you need their specific ultra-rare 5C charging stations. What if you could hit those speeds on more widely available fast chargers? Coming in at number 2, we look at what happens when you decide that 800 volts just isn't enough pressure. NIO, with their flagship ET9 executive sedan, has bumped the entire architecture up to a massive 900-volt system. Why push it to 925 volts at its peak? Because NIO didn't just want to charge fast. They wanted to fundamentally reduce the physical weight of the wiring harnesses inside the car. Higher voltage means you can use much thinner cables. Thinner cables mean a lighter car. A lighter car means it travels further on less energy. It is a compounding effect of efficiency that ripples through the entire vehicle. On this 900-volt platform, NIO is hitting a peak charging power of 600 kilowatts and a peak current of 765 amps. Let me translate that into real life. You can add 155 miles of range in exactly 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I want you to really think about that for a second. Pumping 15 gallons of gas into a standard combustion SUV takes about 3 to 4 minutes. By the time you screw the gas cap back on, check your phone, and wash your windshield, you are at 5 minutes. The NIO ET9 has completely erased the time advantage of gasoline. But there is a catch here as well. NIO relies heavily on their massive network of battery swapping stations as their primary infrastructure. Their 900-volt charging is incredible, but it's built to exist alongside their swapping network. What if a company built a battery that charged so violently fast that the entire concept of battery swapping became entirely pointless? And that brings us to number 1, the absolute apex predator of charging technology. This is the Zeekr 7X SUV, and inside of it is what they call the golden battery. Here is why this platform is the most disruptive thing to happen to the electric vehicle market this decade. It is an LFP battery. Historically, lithium myophosphate batteries have been known as the cheap, durable, but incredibly slow charging option. They were safe, they lasted forever, but you had to accept that they took forever to charge. Zeekr's engineers completely re-engineered the chemistry and physical structure of the LFP cell and cracked the code on an impossible 5C charge rate. In real-world, verified tests conducted on public 840 kilowatt chargers in China, the Zeekr Golden Battery went from 10% to 80% in exactly 9 minutes and 45 seconds. The vehicle was pulling 400 kilowatts of power deep into the charge cycle, hitting a peak of 460 kilowatts. It is adding an astonishing 21 miles of range every single minute it is plugged in. Let me be clear, this is not a solid-state battery that researchers say is 10 years away. This is not a concept car shown at an auto show. This is a production vehicle using cheaper, safer LFP chemistry, achieving speeds that finally rival combustion engines. If you own a gas station, this is the battery that should keep you awake at night. Because once this 5C LFP technology scales down to everyday economy cars, the single biggest excuse for not buying the charging time evaporates overnight. We are living through a massive technological shift, but it is happening very unevenly. While consumers in North America are fighting over broken 150 kilowatt chargers that max out at 400 volts, the rest of the world is rapidly standardizing 800-volt platforms and pushing towards sub-10-minute charge times. The infrastructure has to catch up, but the cars are undeniably already here. So I want to know where you stand. If charging times officially drop under 10 minutes universally, does that finally destroy the very last argument for buying a gas car? Or is the electrical grid just not ready to handle millions of cars pulling 500 kilowatts at the exact same time? Get in the comments and let's argue about the grid. And if you think 10-minute charging is insane, you need to see how they are using this exact same battery technology to make 1,300 horsepower hyper sedans.